Well, in another development, the Igbo Apex Group, Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, on Sunday demanded an apology and 10 trillion naira in compensation from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be paid to the Igbos following the revelation by former military president Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida that the 1966 coup was not an Igbo coup as alleged. The revelation was contained in IBB's memoir, A Journey in Service. The group noted that the coup unleashed disastrous repercussions on the Igbo people, among other factors, which ultimately led to the horrors of the Biafra War. Let me take their statement in part. The group wrote, "The Apex Igbo Social Cultural Organization, Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, extends its profound appreciation to General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida for his remarkable courage in officially declaring that the January 1966 coup was unequivocally not an Igbo coup. This pivotal acknowledgement is not merely a correction of historical nomenclature, but a significant moment in our collective pursuit of justice and reconciliation, signaling a potential end to the historical vindictiveness and cruelty that have been pervasive in federal government policies towards the Igbo nation. His forthright exemption of the Igbo from the egregious classification as enemies of the northern region in the aftermath of the coup is both timely and necessary, even if it arrives decades later. The mislabeling of the 1966 coup has unleashed disastrous repercussions upon the Igbo people, most tragically culminating in the January 1966 counter-coup, which decimated a military head of state of Igbo descent. The staggering loss of life, with approximately 3 million Igbos, predominantly innocent women and children, slaughtered during this conflict, continues to reverberate through our collective consciousness. In light of these egregious injustices and the deliberate neglect exhibited by successive administrations, Ohaneze Ndi Igbo hereby restates its demands as articulated previously during the Justice Oputa-led Judicial Commission for the Investigation of Human Rights Violation panel in 1999. The present federal government, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, must recognize this moment as an opportunity to extend a public and unequivocal apology on behalf of previous military regimes. Our demand for 10 trillion naira in reparations remains steadfast. This figure is not arbitrary, but a symbolic recognition of the indelible losses the Igbo people have endured. The time has come for true acknowledgement of these historical wrongs, which can only be rectified through reparations and sincere apologies. I mean, this was a detailed statement, and there's been a lot of reactions since that excerpt of IBB's memoir came out, where he debunked or dismissed the fact that the 1966 coup was an Igbo coup. A quick comment before I take some reactions.
Oji, IBB did not need to write in his book that it was not an Igbo coup before I had known that it was not an Igbo coup. Mm-hmm. For references, I have read, if not my last count, over 10 to 15 books on the war and what happened around that time. One of the most updated one that was not really biased was Centaure's account of the Nigerian Civil War. I've read Philip Evio's account, The Cage Bird Sings. I've read, Frederick Foster. I've read many accounts. It was not an Igbo coup. There was no Igbo coup. The narrative of an Igbo coup was to be able to hang a particular ethnic group in all of that. These were a bunch of idealists that said, oh, the way forward to obliterate this political class, this thieving political, and their problems then was the same thieving political class.
The coup plotters.
Yes. That they became very idealistic. And where did that mindset come from? It came from the elections and the fight that ensued after the second elections, after the 59, I think the 64 elections, where they saw what the political class was doing, where they saw what was happening in the South and other regions of the country. So this bunch of idealists felt that they could save the country, which was a big mistake. Ademoyega that wrote the book Why We Struck was not an Igbo man. Kaduna Nzego was from Okpanam. Kaduna Nzego was so Hausa. They have Igbo doctrine. He was born in the north. His name was Kaduna because he was born in Kaduna. So all of this was part of the sentiment that they used for this war then. And there are many copious accounts. It was just a bunch of idealists. They felt the way to go was the way to clean up the system, but it was wrong. There was no ethnic. The same narrative of ethnic coloration stemmed from what the political class started infusing so that there was going to be a fight back. Coupled with the media. And that's why foreign medias also played a role in this. And they whipped up that sentiment and it started to snowball into the anarchy.
Right.
In moving forward, we need to heal. We
Absolutely.
need to know that we are all on this table of this hurt and pain, and we should try as much as possible to fix it. And we must be able to do justice. The greatest form of reparation for me is justice.
Yeah.
And we must stop the marginalization against the Igbos. Infrastructure must be built in that land.
All right.
We must allow infrastructure go round. Yes, we have development commission across all regions now. There are statutory transfers to the budget.
Yeah.
We must be able to pump money there. Also, we must bring about federal infrastructural present development. Then we must also stop this talk. An Igbo man cannot be president. Who said so? Who said so? Because you see, these people forget a lot. After the Civil War, one of the paths to reconciliation was that a deliberate attempt by the two key political parties to have Philip Omiedi as the running mate of Awolowo and what's his name now? The number one, Alex Ekweme, the first man to get a PhD in architecture in Nigeria.
All right.
So we need to be able to bring ourselves to this table of recompense and bring the conversation clear on the table that we must fight for a path to peace and stop this Igbophobia and hate against Igbos and all of that. All of us must be one to make this unity work.
All right, so you're up for that, compensation, the 10 trillion. I mean, there's been conversation about, how there's amount of money.
No,
there should be some sort of wider consultation as to how Ohaneze arrived at that amount of money.
But for me, due compensation.
You believe in due compensation.
A lot of federal infrastructure in the east and other parts that have been disgruntled in the country, sustainable ones. That's what I don't know about 10 trillion. All right. But I'm all about justice.
So let me take a comment that followed that story. This is from Justin Collins, who wrote, Ohaneze and Igbo's demand for an apology and 10 trillion naira in compensation from President Tinubu following IBB's clarification about the 1966 coup underscores the Igbos' deserving recognition of their historical grievances. This call for reparation reflects the ongoing need for acknowledgement of past injustices in the nation. The 1966 coup was never an Igbo coup. It was a narrative instigated by the Hausa, Fulani, and other tribes to deny the Igbos their rightful place in Nigeria's leadership. This misrepresentation has fueled decades of injustice against the Igbo people. And, that sums up the sort of conversation we're hearing from the sides of, whether or not we're going to pay reparation. Well, amidst...
So the question is, after this apology, what's next for the Igbos? Because a lot of people already know that the Igbos, there was nothing like an Igbo coup. But now that they've heard it from the horse's mouth, since they want to hear it from someone that is not an Igbo and that has been in Nigerian politics, that is a central figure in Nigerian politics. So now that they've heard it, the question is, what next for the Igbos? You've not apologized, you've admitted, but there should also, in my own, from my own opinion, on my own point of view, there should also be apology, and the money that Ohanese is requesting for. It's not just that they want money because they need money to use. It is reparations. You have to be able to also acknowledge that there is a lot of damage that has been done to the Igbo people in general because of the false narrative that they pushed out there against them. And even in a sane society, let's assume that, which we know right now that is not an Igbo coup, but just let's just assume that maybe even all those officers are Igbos, we are Igbos. You can see clearly that the Igbos are not even the majority among the officers. But let's just assume that all those officers were Igbos and it was an Igbo people. So some people were trying to uh, do that coup to favor an Igbo man. Now, how does it make sense to now even use that as a yardstick to attack the Igbos, to victimize them, to discriminate them? Did the Igbos elect those military men to go and represent them? We are just assuming it's not an Igbo coup, it's not an Igbo coup, but let's just assume that's what even happened. Will you now use that to unalive, discriminate, and victimize an entire people? Does it make any sense? If that is for you to do that, that is barbarism, that is animalistic, that is savagery. There's nothing worse than that. So now that you've confirmed that it's not an Igbo coup, I'm talking about the people that were still doubting, or the people that were using that as a cover to justify their evil, their hatred, their insecurities, their jealousy against the Igbos. They were saying Igbo coup. And we're telling you it's not an Igbo coup, but you've heard it from the horse's mouth. It's not an Igbo coup. You've admitted there should be a national apology, there should be compensation or reparations, like Owaneze is asking for, so that they can be able to use some of those money to even trace some of the families, which is many families in Igbo land that were affected. People that lost their properties, people that lost a lot, people that lost family members, so that at least it can help them. Or even if they decide they will just use the money to build some, to empower a lot of youths in Igbo land and help the elderly and do a lot of things. That's also good. So just imagine the pain that you've caused a people because of pushing the wrong narrative. And like Rufai said, also the media, the mainstream media was part of it. They used the media to normalize this hatred and bigotry and evil against the Igbos. Igbos have gone through a lot in Nigeria. Igbos have gone through a lot in Nigeria. So the Ohanese, they are not wrong in what they are asking for. But they also have to be the presidency. The president should do that, not just because he's the president apologizing, but he's doing it on behalf of the nation, on behalf of the federal government. The Igbos have gone through a lot. It's so sad that people can do this to their fellow countrymen. So guys, please don't, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, like the broadcast if you haven't, and leave your thoughts in the comment section, and I will see you next time.